Stop for a moment and listen carefully, because what I am about to say will either disturb your comfort or awaken your destiny. You thought they just liked you. You assumed it was coincidence. You told yourself it was chemistry, timing, attraction, or chance. But heaven does not operate in accidents. And when God speaks over a connection, when God breathes intention into a bond, it carries weight that your natural mind cannot measure. God said they fell in love with you, and that statement is not about romance alone. It is about purpose colliding with recognition. You have underestimated the spiritual gravity you carry. You walk into rooms unaware that something shifts when you arrive. You speak unaware that something settles when your voice enters the air. You love unaware that something heals when your presence lingers. And yet you question why they were drawn so deeply, so suddenly, so intensely. You thought it was about your appearance. You thought it was about your personality. But attraction at that depth does not begin in the eyes, it begins in the spirit. God allowed their heart to recognize what their mind could not yet explain. There is a difference between attention and divine alignment. Attention fades when novelty disappears. Divine alignment grows stronger when storms appear. And what they felt was not fascination, it was recognition. Something inside them felt safe in a way they could not articulate. Something inside them felt challenged in a way they had never experienced. Something inside them felt seen without being exposed. That is not ordinary emotion. That is spiritual design unfolding in real time. You must understand this. When God allows someone to fall deeply in love with you, it is not to inflate your ego, it is to reveal your assignment. Because love exposes what you carry. Love uncovers your patience, your integrity, your discipline, your wounds, your strength. Love magnifies your light and tests your shadows. And when someone falls for you under divine orchestration, it means there is something within you powerful enough to awaken transformation in another soul. But here is what you struggle with. You do not always see yourself the way heaven sees you. You remember your failures. You remember your doubts. You remember the nights you questioned your own worth. And so when someone loves you with intensity, you become suspicious. You wonder if they are mistaken. You wonder if they truly see you. But God does not miscalculate. If He allowed their heart to be stirred by you, then there is substance in you that you have not yet fully embraced. Some connections are lessons. Some are distractions. But some are mirrors. And when they fell in love with you, they were responding to a reflection of strength, resilience, and depth that you have carried quietly for years. You survived battles they know nothing about. You endured seasons that tried to break your faith. You held your composure when everything inside you felt like collapsing. That kind of spiritual endurance creates an atmosphere around you. It is not loud, but it is undeniable. Do not confuse this with perfection. You are not loved because you are flawless. You are loved because you are authentic. You are loved because your presence carries truth. You are loved because even in your vulnerability there is sincerity. God does not use masks to ignite hearts. He uses transparency. He uses growth. He uses the quiet courage of someone who refuses to give up on becoming better. There are people who will admire you from a distance. There are people who will envy you silently. But when someone falls in love with you under divine permission, it is because your spirit activated something dormant inside them. You challenged their mediocrity without attacking them. You inspired their growth without preaching to them. You showed them stability without demanding control. That kind of influence is rare. And yet, here is the tension. You may not have been ready. You may still be healing. You may still be learning yourself. But readiness is not always the requirement. Willingness is. God does not wait for you to feel complete before He writes connection into your story. Sometimes love arrives while you are still under construction, because growth accelerates when hearts are intertwined. Understand this carefully. The fact that they fell in love with you does not automatically mean they are assigned to stay forever. Love reveals, but it also refines. Sometimes God allows someone to love you deeply so that you can see your own value clearly. Sometimes He allows it so you can confront your fear of intimacy. Sometimes He allows it to expose patterns you must break. Love is not always about permanency, it is often about awakening. You have asked, why me? You have questioned why their emotions ran so deep, but you carry depth, and depth recognizes depth. Superficial people are uncomfortable around substance. But those who crave growth, who long for stability, who are tired of chaos, they feel something different around you. It is not entertainment. It is not drama. It is peace mixed with strength. It is gentleness reinforced by boundaries. That combination is powerful. God does not connect hearts carelessly. When He allows love to ignite, it is because there is something to learn, something to build, or something to release. But in every case, there is transformation. And if they fell in love with you, it means you were part of a transformative chapter in their life. You may never fully understand the impact you made. You may never hear the complete story of how your presence shifted their direction. But heaven records what humans overlook. Do not shrink yourself because someone loved you deeply and it frightened you. Do not sabotage what God initiates because you are afraid of losing it. Fear has a way of convincing you that intensity equals danger. But sometimes intensity equals destiny knocking loudly. You cannot live your entire life protecting yourself from what might hurt you. At some point you must trust that if God orchestrated the connection, He also governs the outcome. And if you are standing in confusion right now, if you are wondering why things feel complicated, remember this: love tests identity. When someone loves you, it forces you to confront who you are and who you are not. It exposes insecurity. It confronts pride. It demands growth. That is why many run from it. It is easier to remain detached than to evolve. But God did not create you to remain emotionally guarded forever. He did not shape your heart to live behind walls. He formed you with the capacity to give, to nurture, to protect, to inspire. And when someone fell in love with you, it was evidence that your heart still carries warmth despite everything you have endured. Perhaps you fear losing them. Perhaps you fear not being enough. Perhaps you fear that their love is heavier than you can manage. But listen carefully what God initiates, He equips you to handle. If He allowed you to be loved at that depth, it means you have the capacity to respond with maturity. There is something else you must confront. Sometimes we question why someone loves us because we secretly do not love ourselves fully. We accept crumbs but doubt feasts. We believe criticism quicker than affection. And so when someone offers genuine devotion, it feels foreign. But God does not design you for scarcity. He designs you for wholeness. The love they felt is not an accident, it is a signal that you are becoming who you are meant to be, a signal that your growth is visible, a signal that your evolution is attracting alignment. Do not reduce it to lack. Do not dismiss it as temporary excitement. Recognize it as confirmation that your presence carries weight, yet you must remain grounded. When someone falls in love with you, it is not a crown to wear, it is a responsibility to steward. You are accountable for how you handle another person's heart. You are accountable for your honesty, your clarity, your consistency. God does not bless you with influence so you can misuse it. If they fell in love with you while you were still uncertain, that means your raw self was powerful enough. You did not have to perform. You did not have to exaggerate. You did not have to manipulate. Your authenticity was sufficient. And that is rare in a world obsessed with image. Now ask yourself this: are you honoring the weight of that reality? Are you respecting the spiritual significance of someone recognizing your value? Or are you minimizing it because you are uncomfortable being seen? Growth requires courage. Love requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires trust in God's sovereignty. You cannot control how long someone stays. You cannot control every outcome. But you can control your integrity. You can control your response. You can control your willingness to grow. Maybe the connection is thriving. Maybe it is strained. Maybe it ended. But regardless of its current state, the fact remains God allowed someone's heart to be moved by yours. That is not small. That is not random. That is not meaningless. Do not become cynical. Do not let fear rewrite what was sacred. Whether it lasts forever or becomes a chapter, honor what it awakened in you. Honor the way it stretched you. Honor the way it forced you to confront your capacity for commitment, patience, and emotional depth. You are not ordinary, and ordinary love does not pursue you. When someone loves you with intention, it is because they sense substance, and substance cannot be faked. It is developed in hidden seasons, in private battles, in silent prayers, known only to God. And do not overlook this truth. When God allows someone to fall in love with you, He is also testing what you will do with influence. Influence is not always loud. It does not always stand on stages or speak through microphones. Sometimes influence is the quiet authority of your character. Sometimes it is the stability of your decisions. Sometimes it is the way you refuse to compromise your values even when affection tempts you to bend. Love exposes whether you are led by emotion or anchored in obedience to God. There are people who fall in love out of loneliness. There are people who fall in love out of need. But when God permits a heart to incline toward you under His watch, it is not rooted in desperation, it is rooted in divine awareness. Something in them recognized safety. Where there had been chaos, something in them sensed direction where there had been confusion. They felt steadiness in your presence because you are learning to root yourself in God rather than in human validation. You must understand the spiritual law at work here. You attract according to what you cultivate. If you cultivate insecurity, you attract instability. If you cultivate pride, you attract competition. But when you cultivate faith, discipline, and integrity before God, you attract hearts that are searching for something real. Their love is not merely emotional, it is responsive to the order God is establishing within you. And yet, love will confront the areas where you still resist growth. When someone falls in love with you, they begin to see not only your strengths, but your blind spots. God will use that closeness to reveal impatience you thought you had conquered. He will use that intimacy to expose communication patterns you did not realize were harmful. He will allow tension to arise, not to destroy the bond, but to refine your maturity. Love becomes the mirror you cannot avoid. Do not fear that mirror. The one who runs from reflection remains trapped in immaturity. But the one who stands before it and says, God shaped me, begins to evolve beyond emotional cycles. The depth of their love for you is an invitation to rise higher, not a reason to shrink in fear. You cannot claim to desire purpose and then retreat when purpose demands accountability. Consider this. Their love for you may also be an answer to prayers you whispered in secrecy. You ask God to bring someone who understands you, someone who respects your boundaries, someone who values your growth. And when that person appears and their heart responds intensely, you begin to question whether it is too good, too sudden, too deep. But God does not answer cautiously. When He answers with clarity. Still, clarity does not eliminate responsibility. You must guard your intentions. If someone has entrusted you with their affection, do not handle it carelessly. Do not entertain their devotion while withholding honesty. God sees how you steward another person's vulnerability, and the measure you use will be the measure returned to you. There is also a hidden battle that arises when someone loves you deeply, the battle between fear and faith. Fear whispers that you will lose them. Fear whispers that you are not enough. Fear whispers that love always ends in disappointment. But faith declares that what God ordains carries wisdom beyond your imagination. Faith declares that even if a chapter closes, it served a purpose under divine permission. Sometimes the reason they fell in love with you is because your presence disrupts their old patterns. You do not entertain their immaturity. You do not reward inconsistency. You challenge them simply by being disciplined. That can feel overwhelming for someone who has never experienced accountability within affection. But disruption is not rejection, it is refinement. God may use you to elevate their standards. However, do not assume that being loved means being responsible for fixing someone. You are not sent to rescue every broken heart. If God aligns a connection, He does so with balance. Love is not a project, it is a partnership. If you begin to carry burdens that are not yours, you will exhaust yourself emotionally. God does not assign you to be someone's savior. He assigns you to be truthful, steady, and sincere. There will be moments when love feels intense, almost overwhelming. That intensity is not always a sign of danger. Sometimes it is the collision of two growth journeys intersecting at the right time. But intensity must be governed by wisdom. Emotions are powerful, but without guidance from God, they can become unstable. Seek clarity before you make promises. Seek peace before you make commitments. You may ask, what if they leave? Hear this clearly. If someone's love is sustained by God's permission, it will not vanish without purpose. And if it does leave, it will leave with a lesson attached. Nothing that passes through your life under God's oversight is wasted. Not the joy, not the tears, not the confusion, not the breakthrough. When someone falls in love with you, it is also a reminder that you are visible. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible in a world that often feels crowded and competitive. God sees you, and sometimes He allows another heart to reflect that visibility back to you, so you finally understand that your existence carries impact, but you must remain humble. Do not allow admiration to inflate your ego. The same God who allowed their heart to incline toward you can also remove what you misuse. Stay anchored. Stay prayerful. Stay aware that every blessing carries stewardship. There is a sacredness to being loved intentionally, It calls you to examine your words. It calls you to evaluate your habits. It calls you to protect trust as if it were fragile glass. Betrayal leaves scars that take years to heal. If someone has opened their heart to you, treat it with reverence. At the same time, do not accept love that contradicts your values. Just because someone feels deeply does not mean you must tolerate disrespect. God does not authorize affection that requires you to abandon integrity. If their love pressures you to compromise your principles, that is not divine alignment, it is emotional attachment without foundation. Remember, love should strengthen your obedience to God, not weaken it. It should sharpen your focus, not blur your priorities. When love draws you closer to discipline, gratitude, and purpose, it carries the fragrance of divine order. When it drags you into chaos and confusion, it requires reevaluation. There is also a spiritual dimension you cannot ignore. Sometimes God allows someone to love you so that you learn how to receive. You have been strong for so long. You have been the one giving advice, offering support, carrying responsibility. Receiving care may feel unfamiliar, but strength is not only about providing, it is also about allowing yourself to be supported without guilt. If they fell in love with you, it is because something about you reflects security. But do not confuse security with control. Love thrives in freedom. Give space for individuality. Encourage growth outside of the relationship. God created you as complete individuals before any connection formed. And if conflict arises, do not panic. Conflict does not automatically mean failure. Sometimes conflict is the process of two minds learning to harmonize. The key is how you respond. Speak with respect, listen with patience, seek understanding before defense. God honors humility within disagreement. As this journey unfolds, ask yourself constantly, am I becoming better through this love? Is my character deepening? Is my faith strengthening? Is my vision sharpening? If the answer is yes, then regardless of the outcome, the connection is serving divine purpose. You cannot control another person's emotions, but you can control your alignment with God. Let Him guide your responses. Let Him shape your decisions. Let Him expose what needs correction within you. When you surrender your heart to His wisdom, you remove the chaos that fear tries to create. And if you ever doubt why someone loves you, remember this: you are crafted with intentional detail. Your mind, your resilience, your compassion, your discipline, none of it is accidental. God formed you with layers. Depth attracts depth. Integrity attracts respect. Peace attracts stability. So stand with confidence, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in awareness of who you are becoming. You are not defined by who chooses you or who walks away. You are defined by the one who shaped you. If someone falls in love with you, it is confirmation of value, not the source of it. Let love refine you. Let it challenge you. Let it stretch you beyond comfort, but never let it replace your devotion to God. Keep Him at the center of your decisions. Keep Him at the center of your identity. When love is built around that foundation, it does not crumble easily. And if you are in a season of uncertainty, do not rush resolution. Sometimes clarity unfolds gradually. Pray for discernment. Pray for patience. Pray for courage to act when the time is right. God does not rush His work, and neither should you. And there is another dimension you must confront with courage. Sometimes when God allows someone to fall in love with you, it is not only about companionship, it is about exposure. Exposure of your leadership, exposure of your emotional discipline, exposure of whether you can carry influence without becoming intoxicated by it. Love reveals how you handle power. Because make no mistake, being loved is a form of power. Someone has entrusted you with their thoughts at midnight, their fears in silence, their hopes for tomorrow. That is sacred, authority, and God watches closely to see whether you will honor it or exploit it. You cannot play casually with something heaven allowed intentionally. The emotions attached to you are not toys for boredom. They are not validation for insecurity. They are not trophies to display. They are seeds. And seeds either grow into something fruitful or decay through neglect. If you nurture them with truth, patience, and integrity, they can flourish into stability. If you feed them confusion, inconsistency, and pride, they will wither and you will be accountable for the damage. Hear this with clarity. Love is not proven by intensity alone. It is proven by discipline. Anyone can feel strongly for a moment. Anyone can speak passionately in a season of excitement. But can you remain consistent when routine replaces novelty? Can you remain respectful when disagreement replaces harmony? Can you remain honest when temptation whispers alternatives? That is where God measures your maturity. When someone falls in love with you, it also awakens spiritual warfare around your focus. Distractions will appear. Doubts will intensify. All habits may attempt to resurface. Why? Because meaningful connection threatens anything that thrives in isolation. Growth invites resistance. But resistance does not mean retreat. It means stand firm. Anchor yourself deeper in prayer. Guard your eyes, your words, your time. What God allows to begin must be protected by intentional discipline. And understand this. Carefully, their love for you may have surfaced because you represent stability they have never known. Your calmness may feel foreign to their chaos. Your patience may challenge their impulsiveness. Your boundaries may confront a history of disorder. That discomfort does not mean incompatibility. It may mean transformation is taking place. But transformation requires cooperation from both hearts. Do not romanticize potential while ignoring patterns. If God aligns something, it will withstand examination. Ask the hard questions. Observe actions over declarations. Watch how they treat others, not only how they treat you. True love is not selective kindness, it is consistent character. And if their love for you is genuine, it will be reflected in humility, accountability, and growth. There will be moments when your past tries to sabotage your present. Old heartbreaks may whisper warnings. Memories of betrayal may create suspicion, but you cannot punish someone new for wounds inflicted by someone old. God does not send healing wrapped in familiarity of pain. He sends it wrapped in opportunity. If you cling to fear, you may miss what was designed to restore your faith in connection. And yet, wisdom demands balance. Trust is built, not assumed. Love deepens through transparency. Speak your expectations clearly. Reveal your standards without apology. If they are meant to walk beside you, they will respect clarity. If they resist structure, they are not prepared for the responsibility of your heart. Consider the possibility that God allowed them to fall in love with you because your journey is about to expand. Love has a way of stretching vision. It challenges you to think beyond yourself. It encourages planning, commitment, and legacy. It forces you to evaluate your direction because someone else's future may intertwine with yours. That awareness sharpens purpose, but never allow love to replace your calling. A relationship is not your identity. It is part of your journey, not the definition of your existence. If you center your entire world around another human being, you create imbalance. God must remain your anchor. When He is your foundation, love becomes a blessing rather than an idol. There is also this profound truth. Sometimes people fall in love with you because they sense peace in your presence. Peace is rare. It cannot be manufactured. It is cultivated through surrender to God in private battles no one sees. When you choose integrity over impulse, gratitude over bitterness, discipline over distraction, you radiate stability. And weary hearts are drawn to stability like travelers to water. But peace must be protected. Do not allow emotional turbulence to invade your spirit. If arguments become destructive rather than constructive, pause and seek wisdom. If communication becomes manipulative rather than honest, address it firmly. Love that is aligned with God will respond to correction, not rebel against it. And if you ever find yourself questioning your worth because of how someone's feelings fluctuate, return to this unshakable truth. Your value was established before anyone admired you. Their love is confirmation, not creation of your significance. If they remain, be grateful. If they leave, remain grounded. Your identity does not shift with their decision. There is a refining fire in being loved. It burns away selfishness. It exposes pride. It demands empathy. It challenges you to think before you speak. It calls you to apologize when necessary. It invites you to forgive when offended. These are not signs of weakness. They are marks of spiritual strength. God honors hearts that choose humility over ego. Sometimes love will require sacrifice, not abandonment of self, but adjustment of comfort. You may need to learn new communication styles. You may need to manage time differently. You may need to confront habits that once felt harmless. Growth is uncomfortable, but stagnation is dangerous. If the connection is guided by God, it will push you toward refinement, not regression. Do not measure love by public display alone. Measure it by private consistency. Measure it by whether promises are kept when no one is watching. Measure it by whether respect remains during frustration. Love that is sustained in secrecy carries authenticity. God sees what is hidden, and He blesses sincerity. And if the path becomes uncertain, do not rush to force clarity. Sometimes God allows ambiguity to test patience. Seek in prayer, reflect deeply, remove external noise. Emotional decisions made in haste often carry regret, but decisions made in alignment with divine wisdom carry peace even when they are difficult. If they fell in love with you, it means your story intersected with theirs for a reason. Perhaps you are building something lasting. Perhaps you are teaching each other lessons necessary for future seasons. Either way, do not treat the intersection lightly. Honor the time, honor the growth, honor the lessons. Guard your speech carefully. Words can build or destroy what emotion began. Speak life, speak truth, speak encouragement. Avoid sarcasm that wounds. Avoid silence that confuses. Communication is the bridge that sustains connection. When you speak with clarity and compassion, you create security. And above all, remain aware that love is not meant to consume you, it's meant to complement you. You were whole before they arrived. You remain whole whether they stay or depart. God's design for your life is larger than any single relationship. Keep perspective. As you move forward, let gratitude replace anxiety. Be thankful that you are capable of being loved deeply. Be thankful that your heart still responds to connection. Be thankful that God allowed you to experience something meaningful rather than numbness. And if challenges arise, face them with courage. Do not escape into avoidance. Do not hide behind pride. Address issues with maturity. Pray for discernment. Seek resolution with integrity. Love that survives honest confrontation grows stronger. Remember this with unwavering conviction. When God says they fell in love with you, it is not merely a romantic statement, it is a spiritual assignment. It calls you to rise higher in character. It calls you to embody patience. It calls you to demonstrate loyalty. It calls you to reflect the discipline you claim to value. So do not shrink, do not sabotage, do not doubt the substance within you. Step into the responsibility of being loved. Step into the growth it demands. Step into the refinement it offers. Because in the end, love under God's permission is never wasted. It shapes you. It sharpens you, it strengthens you, and if you remain aligned with Him, every emotion, every lesson, every tear, and every triumph will contribute to the person you are becoming, steadfast, wise, disciplined, and unshakably grounded in the One who orchestrates hearts according to His perfect knowledge. And now I need you to confront something, even deeper something, that shakes the foundation of how you see yourself. When God said they fell in love with you, He was not merely revealing their emotions, He was unveiling your reflection. Because love does not just expose how they feel, it exposes who you are becoming. Their heart responded to a version of you that is evolving, sharpening, rising, and the real question is not why they love you. The real question is whether you are ready to fully step into the person they already see. There are dimensions within you that you have not yet explored. Strength you have not yet tested. Wisdom you have not yet exercised. Patience you have not yet needed to stretch. But love will demand access to all of it. Love will call forward the calm in your chaos. Love will summon the discipline in your desire. Love will force you to confront your inconsistencies and decide whether you are committed to growth or addicted to comfort. You must understand that when God allows someone to fall in love with you, it often means He is preparing you for elevation. Not elevation in status, but elevation in character. Because sustained love requires emotional intelligence. It requires restraint. It requires the ability to pause before reacting. It requires the courage to admit when you are wrong. Many desire to be loved deeply, but few are prepared for the accountability that comes with it. And here is what you cannot ignore. Sometimes they fell in love with you because you represent answered prayer in their life. Think about that weight. Somewhere in their quiet moments, they ask God for clarity, for stability, for someone who would not play games with their heart. And then you appeared. Your consistency became their reassurance. Your focus became their safety. Your boundaries became their protection. That is not coincidence. That is alignment, but alignment must be maintained. It is not enough to begin well. You must continue with integrity. Do not allow familiarity to breed carelessness. What feels secure today can become fragile tomorrow if neglected. Guard what is forming. Invest in it intentionally. Speak appreciation. Express gratitude. Recognize effort. Love thrives where it is valued. You also need to realize that sometimes their love reveals areas where you have been emotionally asleep. You may have grown used to independence. You may have convinced yourself you do not need anyone. But when someone loves you sincerely, it awakens a tenderness you buried for survival. And that awakening can feel vulnerable. It can feel unsettling. But vulnerability is not weakness, it is openness to growth. Do not retreat into emotional isolation simply because intimacy feels unfamiliar. God did not design your heart to exist in permanent defense mode. He designed it with the capacity to bond, to trust, to build. Yes, discernment is necessary. Yes, wisdom is essential. But fear must not become your permanent language. At the same time, love will test your priorities. It will ask whether you are willing to balance affection with ambition. It will ask whether you can pursue your goals without neglecting connection. It will challenge your time management. It will reveal whether you are disciplined enough to nurture both purpose and partnership. God does not bless imbalance. He calls you to steward both responsibly. There may be moments when you are tempted to measure their love by dramatic gestures, but the real evidence of love is often found in quiet consistency. It is found in daily check-ins. It is found in keeping promises. It is found in showing up even when moods fluctuate. Dramatic declarations fade, discipline sustains, and let this truth anchor you firmly. If God allowed their heart to incline toward you, He also entrusted you with influence over their emotional world. Influence must be handled carefully. One careless word can wound deeply. One dismissive action can plant seeds of doubt. You must become aware of the power your presence holds. Do not misuse it. There is also this reality: sometimes love comes to confront your hidden insecurities. You may wonder why they admire you so much. When you see flaws, they do not. You may question whether they truly know you. But instead of shrinking under praise, rise to meet it. Become the version of yourself that aligns with the potential they recognize. Growth is a response to responsibility. And if conflict emerges, do not interpret it as immediate failure. Sometimes friction is evidence that two individuals are learning to harmonize their differences. Growth is not always smooth. It is often shaped through conversation, correction, and compromise. But compromise must never mean abandoning your principles. Stand firm in your values while remaining gentle in your tone. There is also the possibility that their love for you is preparing you for greater emotional capacity. Every relationship expands your understanding of yourself. You learn what triggers you. You learn what comforts you. You learn how you communicate under pressure. These revelations are not accidents, they are tools for maturity. Do not allow pride to sabotage what humility could sustain. If you sense yourself becoming dismissive, correct it. If you sense yourself becoming distant without explanation, address it. If you sense fear causing you to pull away, confront it. Growth requires honesty with yourself before honesty with others. And hear this with clarity: being loved does not exempt you from self-discipline. In fact, it demands more of it. You must guard your integrity fiercely. Do not entertain options that compromise trust. Do not flirt with distractions that weaken commitment. Temptation is subtle. It often disguises itself as harmless attention. But loyalty requires vigilance. If they fell in love with you because they saw stability, do not transform into inconsistency. If they fell in love with you because you are grounded, do not become reckless. Protect the qualities that drew them near. Continue developing them. Continue refining them. There will also be seasons of silence, moments when emotions feel less intense. Do not panic. Love is not measured by constant excitement. It deepens in stillness. It strengthens in routine. It matures through shared responsibilities. Do not confuse calm with fading. Sometimes calm is the sign of security. If you find yourself in a moment of doubt, return to God. Seek clarity in prayer. Ask for discernment. Ask for wisdom. Remove ego from the equation. Let your decisions be guided by peace rather than impulse. Emotional storms pass, but decisions made in turbulence can leave lasting consequences.